vessels containing blood flowing to the heart, while arteries have blood flowing from the heart. The blue is representative of blood vessels containing deoxygenated blood, while the red blood vessels have oxygenated blood fresh from the lungs. Now, let's follow the path of the blood through the heart. The superior vena cava receives blood from the head, neck, upper limbs, and chest. Meanwhile, the inferior vena cava receives blood from the trunk, viscera, and lower limbs. Both the superior and inferior vena cava end up in the right atrium, one of the 4 chambers of the heart. The heart not only has 4 chambers, it also has 4 valves. The purpose of the valves is to keep blood moving in the right direction and not flow backwards. Blood exits the right atrium through the tricuspid valve, so called because it has 3 flaps, and enters the right ventricle. The blood exits the right ventricle through the pulmonary valve and enters the pulmonary artery. Again, it is an artery because blood is flowing away from the heart, but it is blue because it lacks oxygen. The pulmonary artery then splits into the left and right pulmonary arteries, which go to each respective lung. In the lungs, gas exchange occurs. The blood discards carbon dioxide and picks up oxygen. Now, blood comes back from the lungs through the pulmonary veins, entering the left atrium. Next, the blood is pumped into the left ventricle through the mitral or bicuspid valve. Finally, the oxygenated blood leaves the left ventricle through the aortic semilunar valve, entering the aortic arch. The aorta, which is the largest of all the arteries, distributes the oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. The aortic arch has 3 major branches, which supply the head and arms with blood. Then the aorta curls downward behind the heart, forming the descending aorta, which descends through the chest and continues down through the abdomen. In the abdomen, the descending aorta splits to supply the pelvis and legs with blood.
Of oxygen to allow vital organs to function properly. Oxygen intake is managed by the respiratory system, which is comprised of the airway and lungs. The body's circulatory system, which includes the heart and blood vessels, functions to transport oxygen to every cell in the body. If the heart stops functioning, this is called cardiac arrest and initiate CPR immediately. If the person is gasping or not breathing adequately, initiate adult CPR for cardiac breaths. When doing chest compressions, you push the blood in and out of the heart, circulating it around the body. When giving breaths, you are providing the casualty with oxygen. When you alternate between chest compressions and breaths, you are performing CPR and you are helping to keep the person alive. To do CPR, place the casualty face up on a hard surface. Place the heel of your hand in the center of the casualty's chest, between the chest muscles, straight across from their armpit. Give 30 compressions at least 2 inches deep. Compressions will force the blood out of the heart and circulate it around the body. Allow complete recoil of the chest between compressions. Push hard enough to achieve an appropriate depth. Go at a rate of at least 100 compressions per minute. Minimize any pauses or interruptions when giving compressions. Open the airway and give 2 breaths. Open the airway using the head tilt chin lift method.
Tilting the head back and lifting the chin will move the tongue away from the back of the throat and allow an open airway.
Let's take a look at that on a model. Give 2 slow breaths to oxygenate the blood now. When giving 2 slow breaths, keep the airway open. Seal the nose shut. Place your mouth around the person's mouth with a tight seal. Each breath should be given over 1 second with sufficient volume to achieve visible chest rise. Use a breathing barrier when possible. Avoid excessive or quick ventilations, as this may cause the person to vomit. Repeat cycles of 30 compressions and 2 breaths. CPR circulates and oxygenates the blood. It helps to keep the brain and vital organs alive. Keep your arms at a 90-degree angle to the body. Keep your elbows locked. Make sure your arms are straight up and down. If you feel the ribs break, keep going. In cases of sudden cardiac arrest, the oxygen in the victim's blood is still high. Therefore, chest compressions are the most important part of CPR. In the case of respiratory-related causes of arrest, the breaths are now important. The current recommendation for CPR includes compressions with breaths, as it fulfills a more universal role in dealing with both cardiac and respiratory-related causes of death. Continue CPR until emergency medical personnel arrive and take over. You are too exhausted to continue. Signs of life return: spontaneous coughing, breathing, or movement. The area becomes dangerous. An AED.
CPR training. Thank you for learning how to save a life. So, let's talk about when do you need to do infant CPR. Infant CPR is done when an infant is unconscious, they're unresponsive, and they're not breathing. When we do CPR, we're keeping the blood and oxygen moving through the body with our compressions and our rescue breathing until more advanced training can take over. So, what does infant CPR look like? Let's take an example of what it looks like. So, the very first thing I'm going to do, I need to check for response. How do I check for response in this infant? Well, you don't want to shake the baby, so I'm going to tap the feet. Baby, baby, are you okay? Baby, baby, oh my gosh, with the moment we know we need help, you, go call 911. Oh my gosh, if I don't have anybody to do that for me, I need to turn my speakerphone on and call 911 and do all of this at the same time. So now I'm going to check for breathing. I'm doing a quick scan of the body. 5 seconds, no more than 10. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to start CPR. So I'm going to quickly remove the clothing. I'm going to find the baby's nipple line, and I'm going to use 2 fingers to depress the sternum 1.5 inches or 1/3 the anterior posterior depth of the chest. And I'm going to compress 30 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Then I'm going to go up, gently open the airway. I'm doing 2 breaths, and then I'm going to go back to my compressions. And as I open that airway, I'm doing it very gently. I don't want to hyperextend that baby's neck beyond the normal range of motion. 28, 29, 30, just gently opening the airway. My mouth goes around the baby's nose and mouth to get that good seal so I can deliver those puffs, those breaths. 28, 29, 30. And I'm going to do this until the baby becomes responsive or more advanced training takes over. Oh my gosh, the baby's coughing, vomiting. I'm going to pick the baby up because I don't want the baby to choke on their own vomit.